to the work and everything. So Sparks, why don't you take it away?
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Autumn. Hi, everybody. I'm Sparks. I am the Director of Equity for the Burlington School District. One of the things that the district is required to do, we are required to inform students, parents, and teachers, and anyone in our school community around bullying, hazing, harassment, interventions, and preventions. So the other thing that we have been doing of late is talking about Title IX. So first and foremost, our responsibility as a school district is to keep everyone safe, students, adults, parents. So as we go through this presentation tonight, one of the things I want to say is that we have done a lot of work in making sure we are presenting, talking about bullying, hazing, harassment, and making sure our school community is a safe learning environment for everybody. So as we look at the turmoil and chaos going across, in the world today, one of the things that we are committed to in the Burlington School District is doing everything that we can to make sure our students, our staff, and adults feel safe in our community. So as we move forward, one of the things I will say, see something, say something. Everybody's responsibility is keeping each other and one another safe as we move through our school system and our school days. And thank you for being here. And I'm going to turn it back over to Teresa. Teresa, thank you.
Thanks, Sparks. Hi, everyone. My name's Teresa DiLorenzo, and I am the District Hazing, Harassment, Bullying Coordinator and one of the district safety leads, and I am on our Office of Equity. And I couldn't do it without all of you, especially our youth leaders who are going to help us out here today. So thanks, everyone, for being here. Autumn, if you don't mind going to the next slide, please. So here's our agenda. We just heard from Sparks. I'm going to give a chance for our youth leaders to introduce themselves. We'll talk about why we're talking about this topic, and Sparks already started that off for us. And we'll talk about our rights, some restorative solutions, and then we'll have a panel discussion from our students. And there's time at the end for questions. Next slide, please. So this is just a little bit of promotion. This is our second virtual equity workshop, and we already had one on the restorative code of conduct. This is the one on hazing, harassment, bullying, and we have two more. We have dismantling white supremacy culture in schools on Wednesday, November 15th, and an LGBTQIA plus building safe and inclusive school climates on Wednesday, the 17th. And Autumn, you may want to talk a little bit about this. This is Autumn's great work, so you might want to just put a plug in for the in-person ones.
Sure. So this is the fourth year that we're doing them, and we're psyched to be able to do some in person. Last year, we did a series on LGBTQ+, and this year we're doing a disability advocacy series. I also want to give a shout out to our colleague Charity, who is hosting an in-person workshop for hair for students of the global majority called The Hair We Wear, coming up in October. So it's coming right up. So students on the call, shout out. And also, Teresa, before we move on, can the student panelists introduce themselves, starting with Nasra?
It's exactly what I was hoping would happen. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Nasra Hassan, and I use she, her pronouns. I'm a 10th grader at Burlington High School.
Nasra, you said you would call on folks, so I'm going to turn it to you to call on other students here.
Let's go with Kali next.
Oh, thanks, Nasra. My name is Kali Ali. I go by she, her pronouns, and I'm a 10th grader at Burlington High School.
Then next, let's go to Rose.
I'm Rose Howell, and I'm also a 10th grader at Burlington High School.
Okay, then we can go to Dalib.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dolly Boleen. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm an 8th grader at Edmonds Middle School.
Then Isha.
My name is Isha. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm an 8th grader at Edmonds Middle School.
Liban next.
Hello, I'm Liban. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm a 7th grader at Edmonds Middle School.
And Komia.
Hello, my name is Komia. I'm an 8th grader at Hunt Middle School.
Thank you so much for being here, students. We appreciate you.
I think you guys forgot Habiba.
Yeah, I was just going to say Habiba.
Oh, you're the best. Thanks, Habiba.
My name is Habiba. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm an 8th grader in Edmonds Middle School.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for being here. We really appreciate it. So we are doing this work to try and increase our accessibility to the legal rights of our community, to bring transparency to the work, and to give education and accountability for the work as well. And one of our strategic plan priority areas are to bring transparency to all this work and de-silo the work among our district. So that is part of what we're doing tonight. Next, please. Why are we talking about this? Oh. So somehow oh, there it is. Okay. So we all have the right to be treated equally, regardless of our protected identity. And we want to stop discrimination in our district. Discrimination occurs when a person is unable to enjoy their human rights or other legal rights, including their education, because of an unjustified distinction made in policy, law, or treatment. And this is part of our strategic plan to dismantle white supremacy in schools and make sure that our kids are able to access their education and reducing disparities. Next, please. Some of our legal obligations are to designate employees at every site. We need a designated employee and a non-discrimination coordinator at every school, and train them to address the referrals of incidents coming in or concerns that are keeping our kids from accessing their education. We have to determine next steps and follow-up to make sure that kids are safe and learning. And it's our duty to put supportive measures in place when necessary. We also are trying to be diligent in informing our community, all the people in our community, about their legal rights and how to report incidents of concern. And lastly, we want to empower our community with the information they need to keep themselves and others safe. Because as Sparks said, it is all of our responsibility to keep each other safe and make sure that everyone can access their education. Next. So more legal obligations. I wanted to point out that we are required and mandated to have policies and procedures in place to prevent hazing, harassment, bullying, and sexual harassment. And these policies are based on the state agency of education and also federal rights and procedures and policies. So they're here. They're also on our website. Every school has them. If you're more interested in seeing the legal policies, you can reach directly out to me or any member of the school district, and we can share them with you. Next, please. So now we'll get into the legal jargon here, but again, it's our duty to let people know what it means and what their responsibility is. So harassment is any incident, verbal, written, physical, or by electronic means, that's based on or motivated by a person or their family members' actual or perceived protected identity. Protected identities are these in red that you'll see on this slide. It's race, creed, which is your religion, color, your national origin, marital status, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, or disability. So it's any incident that is targeting these categories and has the effect of making a student not be able to access their education or any resources that have to do with their education, and creating an intimidating, hostile, or offensive environment so that the student or person feels like they cannot access their education or their workplace rights. And harassment is recognized between student to student, student to adult, adult to student, and adult to adult. And everyone has a legal right to access their education or workplace. Next. Again, here are the protected categories. I am intentionally trying to teach them to everyone because we have to keep in mind that you may not discriminate or harass someone based on these protected categories or anything else for that matter. Next. Sexual harassment. So sexual harassment is any unwelcome or inappropriate conduct of a sexual nature, and it can include sexual overtones, assault, advances, requests for favors, or other verbal, written, visual, or physical conduct of that nature. And that when it's done to a person, they are not able to, again, access their education or workplace on the basis of a sexual act. Title IX is a more detailed form of sexual harassment that it was mandated to us by the Trump administration in 2020. And it's all the things that I just spoke about, but it has to have occurred on the basis of sex in an educational program of the district in the United States after August of 2020. And it has to be so severe, pervasive, or offensive that the person cannot access their education. Title IX is a process that was made originally for corporations and colleges, and it ended up in the K through 12 setting. We have a right, it's our due diligence to make sure that it's not happening. However, it looks way different in the K through 12 setting. So we are here, the Office of Equity is here to make sure that while we have to go through these legal processes, that we are actually making sure that our decisions and determinations are grade level appropriate and age appropriate for our kids and for our families. So while we're doing our due diligence to make sure these aren't happening, we also want to be sure that our response is reasonable for our students. Hazing is any intentional, knowing, or reckless act committed by a student or employee that is putting another person in danger on purpose. And an example of hazing could be sending like a high school team out on a scavenger hunt at night around the city. It could be forcing someone to clean something that they don't want to do. It could be saying that, well, you can't join my group unless you do this crazy thing that's going to put you in danger. There's so many things that could be hazing. And anything that you think might be hazing, harassment, or bullying for that matter, should be reported, and we will look into it. Bullying it's an act or a combination of acts that is directed from a student to a student or group of students, which is repeated over time, intended to ridicule, humiliate, or intimidate the student, and occurring in our school activity or program that that poses a clear and substantial interference with a student's right to access their education. And bullying does not have to target a protected characteristic. It can be any kind of thing where someone is targeting another student repeatedly. Bullying behavior is only recognized from student to student, so it will not involve adults. Next. How can you report an incident in BSD? You can report an incident pretty much any way. You could report it in person, by phone, by email. You can report it to any trusted BSD adult, to the designated employee at your school. You could report it to your parent, and they can help you let a BSD employee know. If you go to after school, you can report it to them. You can report it to your coach, to your dance instructor, to anyone who is a part of the Burlington School District community. When we get a report, we ask someone in the school who gets that report to fill out a student referral form. And our designated employee, it's someone in your school who works in your student support center, and our non-discrimination coordinator, who is the building administrator at each school, will look at every report, and they will go through the process to see if there's reasonable belief that the behavior might constitute hazing, harassment, or bullying. And then the designated employee is the person who conducts this whole process. They will do some fact finding, send letters, communicate with the families, with the building administrator. They will do the interviews, and they will help set up safety plans and supportive measures so that our students are safe and learning. The building administrator is also the non-discrimination coordinator, and they're the ones who they take on the onus of determining if we should launch. And then at the end, they determine if the behavior should be substantiated or not substantiated. And they're in the process the whole way through as a consultant. So they're kind of directing the designated employee on what to do and what they think is appropriate. And they're ensuring that families are notified and that we put supportive measures in place for every student so they can access their education. Other reporting tools. So there are other things that aren't hazing, harassment, or bullying, but they still might pose a safety risk or an inequity in our district. And we have an equity ticket, which you can go to the bsdvt.org website and search equity ticket. It will come up. Any member of our community can report an inequity to our office by using the equity ticket. We do encourage everyone to, if they're feeling safe enough, to just talk with the person about what they're seeing to see if they can come up with a solution or a resolution. If they feel like they need help, they should submit an equity ticket. See Something, Say Something is a reporting phone line that is more specified to a safety concern. So if you see something or hear something or are told something in your community, by someone in our community that you're thinking might pose a safety risk, you can call the See Something, Say Something reporting line. It's linked to this slide deck, and we will get back to you within 24 hours to address that. I do want to let everyone know that if you feel like it's an imminent threat or safety concern, you should call the police, call your school, do all the things you can to try and get someone to help you address it before we see hear the message that comes from See Something, Say Something. So a little piece of data here. We have So like I was talking about before, we have our staff submit student referrals, and those come into confidential cloud cabinets, and we are generating some data from them so we can help ourselves see where we have to be more diligent and better about addressing things. So I looked just today and updated this slide. So approximately 40 incidents have been marked as hazing, harassment, or bullying in all of our schools, which is just a tiny fraction of all the referrals that we've seen so far. It's only about 5% of the referrals that we've seen. The majority of the reports that are coming in are physical or verbal disruption of the learning environment, and they're being addressed, you know, in the classroom or in the student support center, making plans with the families. So all of those things, all these things are addressed as well. But the ones that have risen to the level of possible HHB, there's only about 5%. The response that we have to these incidents, when I was looking through our sheets, many of them are first incidents, and we're teaching. We want to teach our kids first and foremost about what is appropriate behavior. We use informal resolutions to teach about these behaviors. And some examples of informal interventions and resolutions, I think I put on the next slide, so excuse that half sentence there. For more serious behaviors, there will be an investigation, and the school will talk about next steps with the team, with the family, with the case manager, with any counselors who are involved. We are intentionally trying to get all team members to be in the know about behaviors that are happening so that we can have the appropriate, correct response that will help a kid and make them feel like we are helping them. So some restorative interventions or informal resolutions are, here's some of the things that we do that I could think of. There are probably more that you could probably think of too, but it could be an apology for something that they did, maybe a special assignment that's, you know, related to the act that we saw happen. We embark on learning pathways, which are 4 sessions, usually about 20 minutes long, with some curriculum that Autumn Bangora, our equity instructional leader, does a lot of creation for. Our restorative practitioners and specialists create some of those as well. It could be an agreement to stop talking or have contact. It could be cleaning up vandalism that was done, a conversation using the restorative process. It could be a group restorative circle, a seating change. There are so many things we're doing to try and have more restorative responses instead of jumping straight to punitive consequences. Restorative response to discrimination or harassment. I thought it would be appropriate to bring up our restorative questions. So these are the questions we focus on when we're working with students and staff in a restorative way. And it's an intentional process that is not trying to put blame on someone. We're trying to figure out what happened and why. What were you thinking? What were you hoping for? Who was affected and how? And what do you think you could do differently in the future to make a better choice, to make things go better? And this is a reflective process that brings our parties into it, where they're, you know, using their brain and the knowledge they have to figure out what happened, why, and what they could do better next time. Some things we do for prevention in our district. We teach our students to create a culture of kindness. We have had students at our high school and both of our middle schools do presentations to their own student bodies and staff to talk about creating a culture of kindness. And youth leaders in our district are taking this on at their schools and beyond. You'll see by the youth leaders the number of youth leaders we have on this call. They want to do the work. They're doing the work. They're helping us be better. This year we had our first school safety week, in which we asked schools to intentionally teach about expected behaviors and how to be a defender when it comes to like standing up for each other, because it's all of our responsibility to keep each other safe. Our office is intentionally doing trainings with all the departments in our district to teach about hazing, harassment, bullying preventions, and the restorative process and response to behaviors. We've rolled out the restorative code of conduct this year in full with fidelity to help prevent punitive behavior and suspension. And these virtual equity workshops, we're in one right now, are an attempt to inform parents and families of our policies and procedures to keep our community safe. This slide I took right from one of our student presentations. It was the Youth and Family Engagement Team, YPAR group at Hunt last year, who gave a presentation on creating a culture of kindness to their whole school. And this is what the kids said. So I'm going to ask if one of the kids, if one of you would volunteer to read this, because this came from you. Nasra, do you want to take this on?
Sure.
Thanks, buddy.
Okay, from our students, what should you do if you hear hate speech at our school or in the community? When you hear someone using hate speech, be an upstander. Tell your peers to stop if you feel safe. Report the incident to a trusted adult at the school right away. It doesn't matter if someone is just joking. It still has a harmful impact. Understand that there have been harmful rumors about people using hate speech that have turned out to be untrue. If you hear rumors, talk to a trusted adult to ensure a throughout investigation and fact-finding. Don't just spread it around. Hate speech can feel really harmful because it is about your identity. It is normal to feel angry, but the best thing to do to avoid violence and report it right away. Do not address harm with harm. Taking matters in your own hands will only make the situation worse.
Thank you, Nasra. You heard it right from our own kids. Liban, do you have something to say? Oh, no, you're trying to do an emoji. Autumn, can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. Okay, student panel. Here we are. We're going to start hearing from the students. So I am wondering if Nasra, do you want to be the one to
Teresa?
Yes, Sparks.
Can I jump in for a second?
Yes, please.
So first and foremost, I want to say thank you, Teresa, for the presentation. And what we have to realize and understand in our district, first and foremost, everything that we, the Office of Equity, is trying to do, and in other departments, we want to include student voice in everything that we do. And when I say student voice, that means students at the table creating, designing, talking to us about the things that we are presenting. Because first and foremost, as we think about the work that we do, it is about students. So the students are the ones that spend the times in the chairs, in classrooms, listening to adults. So as we think about hazing, harassment, and bullying, and even Title IX, the thing that we want to do is not to be punitive, but we want to include students in the learning and understanding of the impact of this behavior. So as we look at the nation, we have wars going on across the country. We have wars going on across the world. And what we want to do is make sure, as the Office of Equity in Burlington, Vermont, we want to make sure everything that we do, we can include students in the conversations, because the students are the ones that are impacted. The students are the ones that are listening to us, and without their voice, and as we think about our own policies and procedures, I want to see students helping us to rewrite those policies and procedures, because primarily they are the ones that are impacted by adult decisions. So I really want to say thank you, Teresa, Autumn, and to our students for being here. So the question becomes, as we move forward with our work, how do we move forward with this work with students front and center?
That's exactly right. I agree, Sparks. Thanks for saying all that. So now we want to hear from you, students. So our first question is, do you know how to report acts of prejudice, harassment, or discriminations that occur at school? And any of you who want to answer, feel free to jump in.
I can answer that first question.
Thanks, Dalib.
Me personally, I think I do, because like if I see those acts, I could just go to like a trusted adult, like you said, or I could just go to, you know, like the guidance counselors or the principal. So I think I do know how to act or report.
You do. You just proved it. Thank you. What's the next one, Autumn, please?
Can you give the other students a chance to answer the question first?
Oh, sure. We're going to go through. Okay.
Nasra's going to call on them.
Thanks.
Let's go to Habiba next, since we missed you last time.
I feel like I do, because like the teachers like remind us like that we can report like stuff to them if like something happens or like you experience something.
Okay, let's go to Kali, and please explain. Be sure to include and explain how you would report it if you were to report.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm aware. Yeah, I've reported before. And I would go to the hub, like I would go to one of the student support teachers or to the vice principal, and I would just explain what happened and ask, you know, what repercussions would happen, you know, if we're gonna have a talk, or if they're gonna, you know, talk to them, is anything gonna happen? And yeah, I would just like to make sure that something does happen, because there's been a lot of times where things haven't happened like in the past. So I would like to make sure that like it's addressed, kind of. Yeah.
And let's go to Rose next.
Thanks, Nasra. I mean, I personally do know how, mostly because of these, and also that teachers are clear that we can talk to them if we have a good relationship and stuff like that. But I think for students who like experience acts of prejudice or harassment often, or students that have reported something before and then not felt like it was addressed, like Kali said, they might not feel as comfortable reporting stuff like this. So I think it's really making sure that students who report things feel like their problems are being paid attention to, if that makes sense.
Let's go to Tomia next.
I will probably just like go tell a trusted teacher, or I'll go tell the office or the principal, and I will hope that that will work. And if that doesn't work, I'll go probably like talk to a guidance counselor.
And then Liban.
I agree with Komia. I think I'd go to like the office or go to a trusted adult. Like a trusted adult for me is Mr. Mark. And I would go talk to him about it and he would probably report it to the principal.
Then Isha, if you're back or if you're still praying, I guess we can move along to the next question. Assuming that Isha is still praying, what acts of discrimination or harassment do you think students see that adults do not see? Let's start with Rose this time.
Oh, thank you, Nasra. Sorry, I'm just rereading the question. I mean, obviously student-to-student bullying or harassment. Adults don't frequently see that, or if they do, they think it's just like regular old teasing between friends. But sometimes, even if it feels like teasing to one student, to other students, it feels like harassment. So I think that would be an instance where adults should step in if they can tell that one of the students is clearly uncomfortable. So I guess adults paying attention to the person who's being teased, I guess. But yeah, stuff like that.
Let's go to Kali.
What acts of discrimination or harassment? Probably like, I wouldn't say like behind doors, but like in the bathroom or like in the lunchroom, like just not in the classroom or in the hallways. I've seen people like, I don't know, I've just seen people get, harassed and made fun of, or, had been discriminated against, like in a non-staff area, such as the bathroom, or like at BHS, for example, in like one of those hallways that no one's at, just a place where no one is.
Then next we can go ahead to Komia. Komia?
Oh, sorry, I didn't know you called my name. I think that like some places that people harass people or discriminate is like maybe people are like playing basketball, like PE. People might say like, oh, we don't want to play with you because you're too bad, right? After like maybe like a teacher comes up to the person, like the person that's been like discriminated because like they're not that good. The teacher might still the teacher might say like, I mean the student might say like, oh, I just didn't want to play. So that's kind of like harassment and discrimination that teachers don't know.
Then let's go to Habiba.
Like if if a student's getting bullied and like the other student defends themselves, and like an adult like sees them going back and forth and thinks like they're fighting, but like a student's just defending themselves, and I feel like that's what like adults don't see.
Then Liban.
Some acts of like harassment is that like if you've done something bad like one or two more or like multiple times, they usually think of you as a bad kid. And if like one person is trying to do something, if one person is doing something bad, and you say something back, they will usually target you because they think you are a bad kid.
And then Dalib.
I think that what students see and adults don't is harassment or discrimination between their, like, the groups that they hang out with, because like they could just do something, but they could also say, oh, it's a joke. And then the person who got discriminated or harassed, they could just say, oh yeah, it's my friend, it doesn't matter, stuff like that.
Then Isha, what acts of discrimination or harassment do you think adults don't see?
I agree with what he said. They don't like speak up because that's their friend. They don't want them to get in trouble. So
what kind of follow-through or restorative action happens after harm has occurred? Let's go the opposite way and start with Isha.
what does that mean?
Like, what punishment would you like to see happen to whoever was hazing, harassing, or bullying? Like, what type of action would you like to happen to them after harm has occurred?
Not even a warning, but I don't know, a parent-teacher conference or something like that.
Okay, then let's move on to Dalib.
I think, like, if something like that happens, sorry, I was just reading the chat. I think if something like that happens, at my school, they would either, talk about how that's not okay during Wednesdays, which is community time, or they would just, go into groups, like in their own classes, and just talk about like how that's not okay and how you shouldn't do that.
Let's go to Habiba.
Like getting like a view of like the situation, like seeing what happened and like trying to like give like the student who's like, getting harassed or bullied like what do you like insurance? No, like I don't know.
Let's move on to Levon.
I think that there should be, it matters like what the harm that they've done. Like if they like fought a student, or like if it was like a measly tease or something like that. I feel like it should be like, if it was like a small thing, it should be like a 1 day like in school, like a detention. And then if it's like a higher thing, I think it should be a suspension. And then they should like apologize. They should apologize to the other person, and then they should make up, and then that would be like that.
Then let's go to Rose.
As of right now, I think it really does depend on what the harm is. So I think changes by case, but I don't really know what the like standard is. I think it usually results in a restorative circle between the people involved or something like that. But I don't know. Yeah, I think it's usually a restorative circle or some sort of talk between the students involved.
Then Kali.
Yeah, like Rose was saying, depending on the depending on what happened, but usually it's like a restorative circle or like a talk between like the person that caused the harm and the harmed, and maybe like a staff member. And then after that little talk, like it's done. Like you got lectured or you got educated, and you go about your day.
For me personally, I feel like it should be like a triangle where there's like levels of how bad the harm you caused was. If like one being like the one in the bottom of the pyramid being like the lowest, and then the middle, and then the top being the most harmful, like a fight or something. And I feel like there should be similar but like different-ish restorative actions happening. So say the top level is like a fight, then for the fight you'd have to have like some suspensions being like the top of the like most restorative practice action, and then the lowest level being like a restorative circle. And depending on the amount of times you've done that action, I feel like they should have a harsher restorative action if you're continuing to do that harm. What changes would you like to see? Let's start with Komiya this time.
Thank you, Nasra. I'm kind of confused of this question. Can you guys come back to me? I want some more time to think.
Oh, then let's go straight to Dalib. Oh, unless Isha would like to go.
I would like to see that they actually care and that they're not doing it just because the students asking for it.
Let's go to Dalib.
Thank you. I'm also kind of confused on the question. I think I need to take a little time to think. Can you please come back to me also?
How about Habiba?
I feel like to do like a proper like follow through, like to tell like the students what happened like behind the scenes, because like if a student doesn't know like something's like happening when like they report something, I feel like they don't want to report anything if that doesn't happen.
Okay, let's go back to Komiya.
I was just about to say what Habiba just said. The teacher should give like a follow through for like the situation that happened.
Let's go back to Dalib.
I would like to see teachers take action as soon as possible rather than waiting. And just talking about it in like community times, because community times are every Wednesday. And I think that, it should just happen sooner.
Let's go to Rose.
I think I'd definitely like to see follow through happen a little bit quicker. And additionally, I don't know, maybe some sort of tools, or maybe like something more than just a restorative circle, or making sure that everybody involved wants a restorative circle, because sometimes having students sit down with people who made them uncomfortable can be a little bit triggering, or like making sure that the solution works for everyone. And then, of course, having it happen a little bit faster.
Kali?
Like I was saying before, like they usually get like a little talk and then maybe like a warning, and then they go about their day. I would like to see that like they actually know that what they did was wrong and they wouldn't do it again, and they understand why it was hurtful, and they understand like why it caused harm, instead of just, you know, hearing someone say like that's not okay, like you hurt this person, and they don't really have a second thought about it. Like this, they just hear the words but they're not listening. So I would like for them to make sure that that the words that they're saying are actually being like received.
Agreeing with Rose and Kali, I feel like they should really focus on the person who's facing the hazing, harassment, and bullying. I feel like they should really listen to what that person wants and like what they're comfortable with. Next slide.
So that concludes the panel section. Let's give it all big applauses for our student panelists with their smartness and their advice for us. I know I'm taking notes, and yes, bravo, bravo, thank you. And I'll turn it back to Teresa for some of the community resources, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Autumn, can I jump in for a minute?
Of course.
So I'm just curious, as if our students know about the district's strategic plan and the priority areas. So as I listen to this conversation tonight, I'd bet they don't know. And then the question becomes, how do we work with students if we have priority areas, if students don't know what they are? That's a problem. So if we're going to make change to this district, we cannot make change without students knowing what our priority areas are in the district and how students are included in that conversation. So I want to thank Autumn, Teresa, and our students for being here, but I'm very concerned that students may not know what our district's priorities are. And I'll stop there. It's about them. It should be for them, and they should know what they are. Just like hazing, harassment, bullying, we drill that, we talk about that, but we don't talk to students about the district's priorities and plans. And somebody please feel free to tell me I'm wrong.
Isha, I saw you raise your hand. Did you want to say something?
What would you do if even an adult's bullying you, or if they don't help you?
Go ahead, Rose.
I know a brief summary of what the strategic plan areas are, but that's because I was involved with the committee last year, but I don't really know the specifics of it. And I think the majority of the student body at different schools doesn't know what they are, mostly because nobody really knows that it exists or where to access it. So
can I ask a question? Do you think that would be helpful for students to know?
I think it would be helpful. I don't know, it regards HHB and the specifics of like how that works and what to do. And I don't know, I personally would like a recap on what the specifics are. So I think it would be useful for students to have access to. They don't have to seek it out, but I think it would be nice if they could.
Thank you for that. So the only reason I bring this up, so the district has 5 priority areas to improve, to engage, to be better. And if students don't know what those areas are, I just wonder, how do we improve the opportunities for students to engage in the priority areas? And I guess that's my wonder.
Thanks, Sparks. Let's address that in our next leadership team meeting. Rose, thanks for your thoughtful answer. And Isha, I heard your question. So I think your question was, what do you do if an adult is bullying you or not helping you? So I'll answer that for you. If you feel like an adult is bullying you or harassing you or doing something against you, you should report that. And if to a different adult who you trust. It looks like Komuye might have something to say. Do you have a response to that question?
Not really, but I want to kind of like say like what do you do for like another question? Like what do you do if a teacher witnesses like a teacher witness someone being like harassing you or like bullying you?
Okay. So let me finish answering Isha's and then I'll answer yours as to the best of my ability.
No
so
problem.
You should, thank you. Report it, Isha, just report it to another teacher who you trust. And if you feel like you're still not getting an answer, you should submit an equity ticket because we will help you with that. Or you could get in touch with Autumn since you are connected right with her. But you should let the Office of Equity know because we are here to support you all.
Thank you.
Thanks. So are you asking me if a teacher sees the bullying happen and they're not addressing it, what do you do? Was that your question?
Yep, that was my question.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to say the same answer. I would let another trusted adult know that happened. And if again, you can always reach out to the Office of Equity. We are here to help you. And I know that there's teachers in your school who will help you as well. Any more questions from the panelists or from Claire, Ann, or Pamela? Thanks for coming. Okay. Well, Claire, do you have anything to say? You're muted.
Teresa, you're also muted.
Oh, thanks.
I don't think Claire's mic is working, but if there's
Claire might be having some technical difficulties. Thanks for trying. So it sounds like we don't have any more questions, but we are here for you all. And thank you to the youth leaders who are here. Thanks to Autumn and Sparks. And thank you to Anne, Claire, and Pam who came to listen to this important topic. And we will revisit it again. There was one more slide with some resources. It just talked about where central office is, how to access the Agency of Ed, the Vermont School Safety Center. So if you have any questions about that, let me know. And Claire, it looks like you're here again. So
thank you guys. Yes, thank you. I again enjoyed. Thank you so much, Teresa, Autumn, Sparks, and all the student panelists. I really appreciate listening to you speak and orchestrate your dialogue to each other. Again, respectful conversations, informative for us at the district and school board level. And just thank you so much. It's invaluable to hear your voices and to listen into what you're experiencing at your middle and high schools. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Claire, and thanks for all you do for the work on the board to support us all. And I hope everyone has a great night.